Okay gang, here's a little lesson in safety for you. A little public service announcement about safety. First off, we're all okay. Last Thursday my family and I, this is our Toyota Sienna minivan, which I can vouch for in terms of safety, because last Thursday my family of 4 and I, plus a family dog, were involved in a head-on collision in icy conditions. Main safety message here is I am the safest driver I know. It would take 5 minutes to detail all the little things I did to improve my safety on that icy morning, and yet you can be the safest driver in the world, and there's still other numbskulls on the roads. You have to watch them like a hawk. That was my one thing I could have done better, was focused more on the oncoming drivers, even though we were separated by a lane of traffic. So it was a 5-lane highway, 2 each way, middle turn lane. I looked up. I turned to my wife to say something. She screamed. I looked in front of me, and there's a Mazda Miata sideways in front of me, front half in my lane, back half in the center lane, just like 30 feet in front of me, no time to brake or anything. Huge impact. So anyway, what you can see here is my front left impacted, well actually it looks like most of my front, but I guess mostly front left, impacted her front right. Oh, she's okay too. A little bit cut up, but she'll be okay. Spinning her, so we impacted my front left to her front right. She spun around so that spun partially so that her back right impacted my left. She continued to spin, ended up backwards in the center lane, and we ended up sliding sideways into the ditch. And you can see, testament to the Toyota Sienna, you can see that the back and the right side didn't have any problem at all. We ended up coming to rest on the dirt off to the side of the road, and we're all fine. We bought this Toyota Sienna. A big factor was the safety features. It has 6 airbags, or maybe you just call them 4. I'll show you inside all the different airbags. And I just worship these Toyota engineers. Because let me show you the inside in just a second. Okay, I just realized during that break that my tone of voice is very lectury, so forgive me, because I'm very preachy about safety right now. So, and I'm a teacher, so I'm falling into that mode. I actually spent most of physics class the day after the accident trying to give them stories, and in order to maybe impact a couple of them to be safer drivers, because in 11 years of teaching I've lost a number of students to teenage driving accidents. Lost a friend from high school to drunk driving, and he was, you know, when you're immortal, it turns out the teenage brain is not, the part that actually evaluates risk is not fully developed. They can get over it, but it takes a huge effort. I also lost a high school friend to the typical teenage thinking. This is why I preach to my students about safety. He'd do stupid things, and I'd say, Koa, you just got to stop it. You're going to get hurt. And he said, haven't died yet, not gonna. It sounds like a bad punchline, but 2 years later, he was dead from a drunk driving accident. So that's why I'm pretty preachy to my kids and take the time in physics, because I think it's a greater public service to try to save a few of them, at least make them safer, reduce the probabilities. So anyway, here's the inside of the Toyota. I'm going to scan around, and you can see there's curtain airbags. That's out the back. Curtain airbags all the way back, from back to front. Freaking amazing. One of the great safety features. Here's the front curtain airbag that the EMTs cut off. There's driver's side airbag deployed, passenger side airbag deployed, and all those warnings about do not stick kids in the front, etc., about airbags. Well, it turns out they're not just covering their asses. In this case, they are serious. You see this? I asked EMTs if my wife hit her head. They said no. That was the airbag coming up out of the dashboard. Straight up, kabam! Broke the front windshield all the way up to there, and then continued the cracks over to there. I will never again rest my feet up on this. They say not to, but now I realize from my physics knowledge that it would snap all 4 bones in my lower legs, and I'd be lucky to just keep the legs. Notice the interior looks exactly the same as if nothing had happened. No intrusion into the cab, just airbags and some major Cheerio disasters. The main problem, my wife's already cleaned this up, was Cheerios scattered everywhere. fact that we hit at a relative, we were going at least 35, we were going 35 or 40, she was going 35 or 40. That's a relative speed of 70 to 80 miles an hour. So it's the same thing as hitting a parked car going as when you're going 80 miles an hour. And it's freaking amazing to me that the cab looks the same. There was no intrusion of the cab, and we came away with bumps and bruises. We were all transported to the hospital because of our reported pains in neck and back. My wife and I were on backboards. My youngest daughter was transported in her car seat, the 5-point harness. We were very worried about her because she has the most common form of dwarfism, achondroplasia, which is the same thing as on TLC's Little People, Big World, same as the mom and the son. So she's at increased risk from cervical injury, both because she's got this really big head with lots of inertia. She's got loose ligaments, so less stable connection, and because the space for her spinal cord that goes into the skull is more constricted than most people. And you may not know this. This is why you should be so damn careful and calculating in your risks. Don't be paranoid, but calculate your risks. The spinal cord has a consistency of toothpaste, and it runs everything. So my wife and I were transported on backboards. My youngest was transported in her car seat with head bracing, and my oldest was evaluated at the scene and transported just sitting in the ambulance. We were all checked out at the hospital. My wife and my daughter got images taken of them. My wife for possible spleen rupture or bruising. I was discharged for just muscular neck pain. My youngest daughter was given 5 shots of x-rays in the head area, which makes me nervous, but they were evaluating, and she had neck pain in a very dangerous position, so they evaluated her cervical vertebrae, and she's released, and we're all doing better. My wife is in greater pain now because in her rib cage. Here's my amazing, heroic, wonderful wife, and the worst of the external injuries in this amazing 80-mile-an-hour relative crash was my wife's little pinky.
Ooh, the blood blister is popping.
The blood blister is starting to pop out. She had a blood blister, a slight avulsion. That was the only bleeding in the cab, and she broke a nail. That was the extent of the external damage. So, bottom line message, I had all these feelings of gratefulness, but I'm not a big theist. I think the universe operates by the laws of physics, but I'm not sure. Who am I to know? So I had all these feelings of gratefulness, but I didn't know where to direct them. And then I finally realized luck plays a huge part, but so does risk management. Go figure. I'm very prudent. I'm a very careful driver, and we bought this car specifically for its safety features. So I ended up thinking, well, thank the twin sisters of prudence and providence that we came out of what could have been a horrific accident. As it was terribly violent, and we were swimming in the pool the next day. So take care of yourselves. Life is short, appreciate it, and calculate your risks versus the enjoyment you get out of those risks. Take care.